Gryphon is a family-owned North American motorcycle protective apparel brand with a long history in the motorcycle industry. Gryphon offers CE Level 2 protection in the back, shoulders, and elbows. The armor is pliable to move with you for a comfortable and safe ride. Gryphon offers a wide range of products for men and women, mesh, transition, and four-season jackets in textile and leather. We offer thermal-lined riding pants, rain gear, and gloves. Gryphon is focused on style, function, and protection for our fellow riders. Check us out at www.gryphonmoto.com.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh here, bringing you all of the newest news going on out in motorcycling and powersports. Josh, we've got a great show today. I know you've got some awesome things to talk about. A little bit of breaking news is happening today as well. So beep, 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 breaking news. Buckle up. There's all sorts of stuff going on today. What are you talking about in your neck of the woods, Josh?
So we've got two main things for me today, one of which is, I don't know if you've been hiding under a rock or not, but you may have heard of some recent world events going on. I'm going to talk about how they may have affected a certain motorcycle community. On top of that, we're going to talk about how the Vegas odds makers are currently crying.
Well, I can't wait to hear what those are about. I love your cliffhangers there, Josh. Thanks so much. I'm going to be talking about a couple of exciting things going on in the world of Honda and a new e-bike that's going to be or is in prototype stages that just launched this week that has been all over the internet. I'm sure you've seen it. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you might have missed it. But first things first, Josh, this week could also be known as the greatest week of my entire life, because the folks over at Honda have announced that they are going to be relaunching for overseas market, but we all know what that means. That means it's coming next year. But for overseas market, they are going to be relaunching the iconic, the historical, the greatest motorcycle ever made, which is the Dax. Now, if you know me in real life, you know that I am a wiener dog fanatic. I have two wiener dogs myself. The bike that is on your screen right now is the motorcycle that is going to be launching overseas. It is known as the Dax. It was known as the Dax overseas. This is another bike in the Honda portfolio of relaunching their classic motorcycles and their classic mini bikes, including the Monkey and the Cub, yada, yada. Anyway, overseas market knew this bike as the Dax. In this country here in the US, it was known as the Trail, but they are going to be relaunching this motorcycle. I could not personally be more excited. This is a great looking machine. This is going to be a 125, just like the Monkey and the Cub. Slightly different design, slightly different frame. What else is going on? This is going to be, again, that 124cc air-cooled single overhead cam single that comes from the Super Cub. Claims a peak whopping output of 9.3 horsepower. Listen to that thunder, Josh.
Ooh.
Listen to that power. Which should be enough to reach 55 miles per hour, even with a passenger. The engine is mated with a 4-speed transmission and an automatic centrifugal. Centrifugal? Is that the right way? Clutch.
Centrifugal.
Centrifugal clutch. I was like, what is going on? So I personally am just a huge fan of this bike. I've got another slide of it on the screen coming up in just a second. It's coming in two different colorways. It's coming in Pearl Nebula Red or Pearl Cadet Gray. Josh, what do you think about this awesome little bike? And then I've got another slide, if you want to throw that up there, of some of the original badges, just so you know what I'm talking about when I say that I'm a crazy wiener dog lady. It's got the great little overseas badges, have got the little wiener dog logo with wheels for the legs. I'm a huge sucker for this whole story here. I cannot wait to see these in person. I had everybody on the internet tagging me in these posts this week. Anyway, all jokes aside, I just genuinely do love this bike, because I also just love this whole portfolio of bikes that Honda's been doing for the past handful of years. When they first launched and relaunched, I guess I should say, the Monkey a handful of years ago, Everybody poo-pooed it, Josh. I don't know if you remember that or not, but everybody
Yep.
poo-pooed it. Was talking about like who's going to want small bikes, who's going to pay this kind of money for a small bike. Joke's on you, because that bike sold out everywhere. It was gone, daddy, gone. It sold
Yep.
through, and then they continued with that trend, releasing the Cub and all these other bikes. They did do a little Trail 125 also last year that was here in the U.S. This is a different machine, which is where it gets a little confusing, because this version was known as the Trail, but then they released another Trail. And anyway, it gets a little confusing, but I'm really pumped to see this. What do you think, Josh?
I mean, once again, I think you kind of hit the head of the nail. It's everyone poo-pooed it, and Honda has shown that people want this. When you even look the Grom, the Kawasaki Z125, I mean, all these things, people have fun on these bikes. They're not threatening. They're unassuming. You can ride it anywhere. And I had a friend of mine who had a similar bike to one of these, who made the best point ever. He goes, you ride someplace, you park it on the sidewalk. And he goes, who is going to get mad at you? These things are far too cute. Who can get mad at this cute motorcycle? He goes, you just can't do it. So he goes, everyone loves them because you can't be mad at them.
Yeah, I agree. They're the ultimate smile machine in my mind, and they totally nail the nostalgia vibe. You know, the average motorcyclist right now, at least here in the US, is like 50 to 60-ish years old. And just like you mentioned before the show, this was one of your first motorcycles. So that is the same story for tons of 40, 50, and 60-year-olds out here right now who have disposable income, who will drop a couple grand on a modernized version of their first bike. I know I personally am gagging to own one of these. I cannot wait to see them come to the US. I am going to bet a cold, crispy $100 bill that these will be in this country within the next 12 to 16 months. Now, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods, Josh?
So, as I mentioned before, there seems to be some world events going on right now. Like I said, if you've hidden under a rock or anything like that, unfortunately, what it has affected is there's Rally Kazakhstan has been canceled due to that area of the world right now being a little, let's say, volatile, is the nice way to put that. One of the interesting things that I found this and why I wanted to bring this up is, so when an event like this goes on or doesn't go on, I mean, you see the bikes like this that are out there doing this. First off, these guys are out riding into the middle of nowhere. I mean, no services, no nothing around them. So it's a highly dangerous thing. The second off part about stuff like this is they have full teams, rigs, everything supporting them. So the FIM and World Motorsport Council are working to try and find an event to replace this with. But what's so difficult in stuff like this is when you realize you have to get all the teams there, all the semis there. So now we have to get passports. About 2.5 years ago, things became a little more complex with COVID restrictions. Yep, that's still going on. So there's that. There's the travel. There's all this other stuff, making sure fans are going to show up there. So there was actually a letter that came out that talks about, that said, hey, look, we're talking about world events in the next slide here. That basically I think they put it very well, like, hey, look, it's just not a good time for this. And they said they are going to try and fully restore it for 2023. It's subject to approval by World Motorsport Council, which I think is a great way to put that, because that means, look, we're hopeful for this. We're planning on this. We want to make sure that we can do this. But we realize that this may change. When you look at, they're still keeping their Spain events, their Moroccan events, stuff like that. So I'm excited to see that stuff is going to go on. But this is just one of those things where I think COVID has helped us adapt and prepare for stuff like this to have to move. It's racing. It's international racing. It's the name of the game. What are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to seeing some rally raid stuff like this, Jacqui? Would you like to see it here in the U.S.? Is that where they should go?
Oh my gosh, I would love that. Unfortunately, I don't think rally has as big of a community and as big of a
Right.
following here in the United States. But you're right, COVID has done several things, one of which has made the world a much more digital place. And the digital community would tune in, and no matter where the race actually takes place, people are going to tune in and watch this stuff online. So I'm hoping that maybe this will change a few ideas and concepts, whereas it's not so much about having fans and spectators be on the grounds and on the site, although that's awesome and everybody wants to go see stuff live and in person. But the priority to me is to find a place where you can actually like stream really great footage from and let the community as a in a more global way participate and enjoy this sport. So I would absolutely love to see more things like this in the United States. But you're right, with COVID and then now with all these,
Yeah.
you know, you said, global issues, but I'm going to also just go ahead and say human rights issues. There's all this stuff going on, and those are
Yes.
places that we should not really be, in my 2 cents. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and get on the soapbox. I don't think we should be participating in major global sporting events in those types of communities anyway. I don't think we should be spending our money there. That's my soapbox moment. But I'm really excited. I do love rally, and I can't wait to see where this goes and what happens and, where we're headed. But I was really pumped to see motocross donations come back to the United States also this year. So we are getting a little bit
Yes.
more of an international flavor coming back to the US, and I am here for it. So I'm really excited about that. So thanks for that. Thanks for bringing that news up, Josh. My second story for today's show is going to be talking to change topics a tiny little bit. It's going to be talking about an American based company called Super 73. Super 73 is the maker of an e-bike that during COVID time, their sales just went bananas. They're absolutely a global company now. It went through the roof just like everything else in Powersports. Everything sold through. Everybody discovered two wheels, which is awesome. Bravo to all of you who are new to the community. But anyway, the folks at Super 73 have absolutely just been dominating and crushing the e-bike space. And this past week, they went ahead and announced that they are not only going to be continuing with their e-bikes, which of course they are, and they've got some cool new bikes in that space. They are going to be heading into the e-bike, more of a motorcycle space with the launch of their new 75 mile per hour, not this slide, but Ashley, go grab the 2.1 slide. They are going to be jumping into the e-bike, e-motorcycle type space with this incredible looking machine that's on your screen right now. So I am really excited to see this. They have not launched or given out any sort of numbers yet. This is still definitely considered a bit of a concept versus a prototype. They're still just kind of sneaking this out and letting people talk about it, discuss it, and think about it. But I like that they are looking to get into this space. I've got a second slide showing a little bit different angle of this bike. I believe it's got a little bit of a side shot going on as well. If you want to go ahead and throw that up there, Miss Ashley, I appreciate it. There it is. So what they've done basically, Josh, as you can tell, is they've covered up that middle section where the batteries live. A lot of people like to poke fun and they're like, look at this big blocky ugly thing in the middle of the bike. Why can't people design around it? Well, the folks at Super 73 have thought that out a little bit and covered it up, put a little bit of graphic doodads on there to make it look a little bit sharper. But in my mind, Josh, this reminds me of a bike that I had the chance to go see with the folks here at Motorcycle and Powersports News in December, which is a bike that is assembled, built, and 80 to 90% of the components are made in the US, and it's made in Cleveland. And that bike is called Land after the area that it comes from, which is Cleveland. Miss Ashley, you can throw that slide up there. It's a photo that I took on my own phone. These folks are not quite as widely known, but I would love them to be because we had the chance to rip on this bike. This is definitely an e-bike, more in that motorcycle vein. This goes 75 miles per hour plus, and it hauls the mail. It is absolutely bananas. It is a hoot. And again, the majority of this bike is made here in the US, which I think is really, really awesome news. So just a little bit of a two-part story going on for today. Again, the folks at Super 73 are going to be getting into this type of space, but the folks over at Land, based in Cleveland, already are in this space, and they are headed to production with this same kind of vibe, 75 mile per hour e-bike motorcycle platform. What do you think about this news, Josh? Are you here for these e-bikes, these e-motorcycles?
I am totally, and it's what's interesting about them too is, I mean, it is a logical step because once you've learned the battery and motor technology to just step it up for more powerful things, it's I mean, it very much, as far as manufacturing design, it is a step function, especially for what most of these are going to be used for. They're going to be in town, in cities. These are commuters. These are going to be used in a, I don't want to say similar manner to most of the pedal e-bikes, but of sorts, yes. It's commuting, it's moving around cities and stuff like that. So for something like this, I'm excited to see them. I mean, I love that instant torque. It doesn't need to make a lot of noise to make me happy. It just needs to go like hell, and these do that.
Yeah. No, these go like stink. Our whole team had the chance to ride it. Even some of our members, our camera crew that don't ride, had the chance to ride it. And every single one of them climbed off of it with huge smiles on their faces and were just absolutely shocked at the power that these put out. I ride motorcycles, obviously, and I even was like, whoa, Nelly, this is a whole new day out here with these types of platforms, because they're so small, they're so light, they're so nimble, they're so agile, and
Mhm.
woo, are they fast. So I think this is really exciting news. I'm really excited to see what's going on with the folks from Super 73, and also just wanted to take a moment and give a little bit of love to the folks over at Land, based out of Cleveland. So what's going on for your second story today, Josh?
So if racing's back, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I love watching the racing. I mean, MotoGP, World Superbike, all of those. So if you are an odds maker in Vegas right now and you look at the top 10, 12 positions in MotoGP, what are you looking at and thinking? If that was you, Jacqui, would you have ever pinned this up as the top 10 in MotoGP right now?
No, absolutely not. The season is already off to a very rock and roll, very rowdy start. They've had some
Yeah.
crazy, weird weather, and there's been crazy accidents. And then I think you even were going to touch on the news. Again, today's show is all about breaking news, beep, 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 about Marc Marquez sustaining
Yes.
another injury. I know that I think you've got some notes about that. If you want to go ahead and jump on into that story, I don't want to scoop you. But there's all sorts of just shenanigans already right out of the gate for 2022. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think Ashley's even got a slide of the first
Yep.
top 10, I think. Does she have what's going on?
So yeah, so I mean, this is from Indonesia, which, hey, Indonesia always, I mean, there's always that chance of rain. It's a tropical climate. The thing that always impresses me too is when you look, it's raining and these guys are doing this is absolutely amazing. If you ever want to learn what this is like and how to better control your own life, even read the book, um, uh, Racing in the Art of Racing in the Rain. Amazing. It will help you in so many things. But in our next slide, we've got the top standings of MotoGP right now. And when you look at these standings and you see that we've got a last year's model Ducati, a KTM, and a Yamaha as the top three. In fact, we've got another KTM as the fourth one. I mean, this is absolutely bananas. I mean, this to me is one of the things that I love about racing, because you may as well have drawn some of these names out of a hat and just put them up on the board in this manner. I absolutely love the start to this MotoGP season, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. In the same sense, in a couple of weeks, April 8th through 10th, World Superbike is going to be at Spain, and Jonathan Rea has been pretty dominant. He's in our next slide here. He's been pretty dominant over the past number of years, but with Toprak coming in the last year, who actually was mentored to an extent by Jonathan Rea, it's going to be interesting once again to see how this year plays out. Also add in the fact that BMW now has the M model, which is kind of a homologation special. That was done years ago with Ducati with their SP, Aprilia with the Aprilia R and the SPR and those types of bikes. So there's all sorts of great racing news coming out. To me, I am super excited now that road course racing is back on track. and we're having something to drool over on the weekends and cheer for. So, who do you think wins MotoGP this year?
So again, though, you can't discount Fabio Quartararo, who was last year's champion. You can't discount him.
Yeah.
Right now he sits in position 3. He's in P3 right now as far as the overall
Yep.
standings goes. So, I mean, you can't. This is still like such early days. So who knows where we're headed? But you're right. To have a 1-year-old Ducati on the top of the box right now is very shocking to me. To have Yamaha back in the mix is anyway. There's just a ton going on. At the same token, as you just mentioned, World Superbike is coming back at the very beginnings of April 8, 9, 10. That is also the North American, the U.S. round of MotoGP in Austin, Texas, at Circuit of the Americas, of which the cowboy, the king of the cowboys, is that his nickname, or king of Coda, Mr. Mark Marquez, again with this new news just being released this week of him having the double vision spells again. He did have a pretty serious incident, I believe, last weekend, and it is confirmed that he is having a spell of double vision again. Is he out for the season? Is this a deal breaker?
That's, to me, that's the scary part, and it is. So you're right, with especially Coda being so close and that being his thing. He did. I saw the off that he had in warm up, and you're like, that's a big one. And when he goes off, he seems to go off on the high side a fair bit, which obviously is, I mean, none of us ever want to get off, especially at those speeds. But when you do that and ring your bell, so he was diagnosed again, it's diplopia. It is that double vision. And the thing that I really want to say with that is this is just another reason. All of us are ugly enough that we look so much better with our helmets on. Make sure you put that brain bucket on, so that way you don't end up with some of these issues, because hopefully you're not coming off at the same speed that Marquez is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll all have to wait and see. Hopefully this is not a total game changer for him. But again, motorcycle racing is a very serious sport. And, we'll all just have to wait and see and see what happens. But it was very surprising news, very shocking this week to hear that he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on today, another little bit of breaking news, because we're all about the scoop here at On the Throttle, is the fact that ahead of the Tokyo Auto Show, which is coming up very shortly, the folks over at Honda are going to have already dropped the issues, have already released out here into the internet's photos of the Honda Hawk 11. This absolutely dead sexy, stunning cafe racer style bike from the folks out at Honda. This is going to be based on Honda's new NT 1100 Tour, which itself was derived, the frame and the engine come from the Africa Twin adventure bike, which I think is very surprising. But I mean, they put so much research and development into that platform. Obviously, maybe it is a no-brainer for them to go ahead and use it in different stylings and in different pretty packages. This has to be one of the prettiest packages I've seen come from Honda, though, in a very long time. Look at this absolute stunner. Josh, what do you think about this Honda Hawk 11?
I like it. I mean, to me, it's got that, hey, it's got the universal Japanese motorcycle appeal to it. I mean, kind of like the old Nighthawk did. You want to ride fast? Great. You can ride fast. You want to be at least reasonably comfortable? Great. You're going to be reasonably comfortable. You need power? Great. It's going to have a ton of power. You need reliability? It's going to have all that. So to me, it is, like I said, it's that universal Japanese motorcycle that was so celebrated in the late 70s, early 80s that just did everything well. And the look that they've got with this is beautiful. And I'm looking forward to seeing that on showroom floors for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie. This is my least favorite side of this bike. I think that exhaust does ruin it for me a little bit, but aftermarket is going to do what aftermarket is going to do, and they're going to go ahead and solve that for us. Yeah, this is the business side, which is kind of whap whap, but this is the dead sexy, bring it flowers and a box of chocolates side for sure. This is absolutely beautiful. I love the looks of this bike. Very exciting news, again, from that incredible power plant that also lives in the Africa Twin that they've proven is pretty pretty darn bulletproof. So really exciting news today, Josh. All sorts of little sneak previews and some breaking news. We've been scouring the internet to bring you all of the raddest stuff going on out here in motorcycling and power sports. As always, thanks for tuning in, clicking, liking, and sharing. Of course, make sure you share this with all of your motorcycle pages and your friends that love hearing and seeing and learning about all of the awesome stuff going on out here in motorcycle land. Thanks for another great show, Josh. We will see you guys next week.